Hey everyone, Luke here. Now, just a quick apology. I know this review has been extremely delayed this week, but there are a few things that have been contributing to that. First of all, work obviously, but second of all, I've been shooting a short film. I'm acting in a short film, which has taken up another couple of days that I really wanted to save, but unfortunately we just had to move things around, so that's why the review has been taking this long. And I'm really happy about that because I've really enjoyed working on the film, and it's given me a lot of time to process my thoughts about what I'm actually going to say in the review. Like when I watched Control Chaos's video, they made certain points that I actually want to address in this video, and even though I'm the Promised Neverland fanboy, I'm the first to admit there are some things again that I am just disappointed in the series that I have to agree with. Like for example, death of the characters, which again, unless they're really important characters that we've focused on, like Lucas and Hugo, they're not really gonna attract that much of an emotional engagement from us, the viewers. But I mean, we know that the characters in the series, they're going to be feeling emotion for them, but us the readers, we're not actually going to feel any emotion for them because we don't know that much about them. I mean, they are kids, and we don't want kids to actually be dying, but unless they're characters that we've actually been focusing on, the author is not going to get a response out of us, and I agree with them on that front. But they compare Promised Neverland's situation with characters to Dr. Stone's situation with characters, and I can see where they're coming from here. They're both in situations that makes it a bit difficult for the main characters to survive in, but there are clear differences from Dr. Stone to the Promised Neverland that I'm going to be touching on in the review. But for now, let's get into it. Alright everyone, Lasherluke here to review the Promised Neverland chapter 112, titled Mourning. Obviously a reference to the fact that the kids now know that Lucas and Hugo are actually dead, and that they can actually mourn the loss of essentially the father figures that they've had for the past 2 years. But anyway, first things first, want to talk about very briefly the new trailer for the Promised Neverland anime. Even though it was only brief, 15 minutes, not 15 minutes, 15 seconds, sorry guys, 15 seconds. I enjoyed it. I love the art style that they've actually gone for with this. Even though what I've seen from Crone, it's she looks a little bit younger than for my taste, based on her character design from the anime. She looks a little bit younger, and I'm not sure if I feel about that, but honestly the art style is pretty good, pretty decent. It's not the art style that I would have properly liked for the series, but for what it is, it's decent, and the music really good. I'm really looking forward to listening to the soundtrack for the Promised Neverland anime. But anyway, enough talk about that. I'm sure I'll be doing videos on that when we get to it in January. But for now, let's get into it. Okay, so we open up with the flashback of the kids that were killed by Andrew in the last chapter, and he calls them morons, and then we see him saying idiots as we see an image of Hugo and Lucas's bodies just lying down on the floor, on the ground. They're dead at this point, and we see that they're actually dead. And this is this point here, it's I only just realised what this actually was just by looking at it. I'm that really hits on home and just shows just how much of an evil scumbag Andrew really is at this point. And also, something else that I wanted to bring up is that how Andrew, Control Chaos called him a wasted potential villain, and we'll get into that. We'll get into why he's been wasted later on in the chapter. But just to clarify, they call him a one-dimensional, just evil bad guy. I don't know if they actually said one-dimensional, but they basically call him just a cliche bad guy. But guys, I want you to look at it from this perspective. There have been other cliche bad guys from really popular, really high up their series. Case in point, Sakasuki from One Piece. Even though all we know about him is his general personality, his position in the Marines, and his devil fruit, and he had one really cemented moment of just how evil he is when he killed Ace. But he is just a cliche bad guy. It's absolute justice, no regards for anything at this point. I'm sure we'll get into his backstory later on down the line, but for now he is just a cliche villain, and that's from like the most popular manga series of all time, One Piece. So I'm just saying, like, you can't have it both ways. It's like, yeah, it's like you have to, like, you can't be like saying like, oh yeah, One Piece absolutely perfect, nothing wrong with it. But no, there are things wrong with it. Like, it does have cliche bad guys. Like Sakasuke, in my eyes, he's a cliche bad. He's very threatening. I'm not saying anything taken away from how evil he is. He is very threatening, a very evil person, but he is a cliche bad guy. And the Tenryubito, the Celestial Dragons, they're cliche bad guys as well. Even though we may love to hate them, they're still cliche bad guys in the sense of the context of a story. And that's what I want to focus on here, how you can't say it for Andrew, a cliche bad guy, and say that that's a negative of the series, but like say, oh, One Piece is just absolutely perfection, there's nothing wrong with it. But no, if it has a cliche bad guy, One Piece, you have to say it as well. Sakasuke, in my eyes, is a cliche bad guy. He's done shocking things, but he's still a cliche bad guy, and I just wanted to say that. Nothing against One Piece. I mean, I love One Piece. I love the chapter this week that came out about how we found out certain things about Blackbeard. Blackbeard makes his first appearance after the time. I'm pretty sure it's his first appearance after the time skip in full view in this chapter, and I love this. I love this. How we found out something really important and really cemented the Yonko from other traditional pirates in this series, and you'll know about it. People who've read the chapter know about it in terms of how much they're actually worth. And yeah, just saying that, you know exactly what I'm talking about here. But anyway, that's all I wanted to say on the. Let's just get continue on with the chapter. So we continue on with Andrew just cackling away and saying, ha 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 ha, in the end, I'm the one who survived. Fate is on my side. Ha ha. And this just cements out how just out of control Andrew has, and it's just he's become like just this like force of just like, I am so psychotic, I don't care about what's happening, I just want to kill these kids because they're counter to me. And that's going to come back to bite him in the arse in a bit as we move through the chapter. And we see just how distraught Jillian, Oliver and Saka are at this point, and we see Emma just like reach for a gun, gonna shoot it. And this is another problem that they had, Control Chaos, that they wanted Emma to actually shoot. And personally, if Emma had shot here, then yeah, it would be shocking. It would be great character development for her. But I feel like that needs to be saved for other characters. Because even though we don't know a lot about these characters, Emma does. Like the characters that actually died, she's lived with them for 2 years, and she considers them family. But if she was to shoot Andrew at this point and actually killed him, then that would take away from the facts when it's obvious what's going to happen is that there's going to be another enemy that's coming along, and they are going to kill. I'm expecting Don and Gilda to die, and those two characters, I feel like Emma's just going to lose it right there. Or Ray. Emma's just going to completely lose it right there and shoot it, and I feel like they need to save that. They need to save it for a moment when one of Emma's really, really, really close friends, like friends that she considers more than friends, like brothers and sisters, like Don, Gilda, Ray and Norman, or possibly Phil, like those 5 are the ones that if Emma was going to shoot and kill someone in revenge for them, it has to be those characters. So they're for the chopping block, I think, if they wanted to go that route and have Emma actually shoot someone. And I feel like if they actually did it at that point, that would be really amazing for her character, and it would show that despite her pureness, if it's a family member that she's grown, that she's really, really attached to, she's going to shoot them there, and it's going to be like, I don't care, I'm sorry, I don't care, you need to die because you just killed my brother right in front of me, or my sister right in front of me. So as Andrew is going on and just spurring out his whole evilness, we see him getting shot from all different angles, and he's like, what? And then we see that it was actually Oliver that actually fired the shot. So it was obvious that bang at the end of the last chapter, that was Oliver that did that. And you see, this is what I mean by it not being Emma but actually being Oliver. This actually makes a lot more sense than it actually being Emma, because Oliver has always viewed Lucas as sort of like the big brother figure that he can look up to, and he's known Lucas more than Emma has known Lucas, and he knows like just what they take and how much they've been together, like how they fought Bayonne together, and Oliver nearly died and Lucas was protecting him. And I feel like it's more appropriate for Oliver to do the shooting rather than Emma, because it shows that again it's foreshadowing like this is possibly what's going to happen to Emma. Like Oliver to Lucas was like the big brother and like the really close family member that he actually had, which just drove him to the edge and actually shoots him. And that's what I love about the series, how they've just built up the relationships between the characters so that you know, like, okay, it may not be this character that they're going to shoot, but if it's a character that's killed another character that they're really close with, they're going to shoot. And this has just been proven with Oliver actually shooting Andrew. Just like, I don't care, you've basically killed the only brother I've ever had. You are going to die right now. And we see the look of sadness on Oliver's face, but we also see the look of anger in his eyes as well, which I'm really happy that they went with here. So as they get Alicia to safety, they all focus their attention on Dominic, and Andrew sees this as well, and he actually goes to stomp out Dominic's lights, basically like to just break his spine and just kill him right there. And Emma's like, don't, Dominic, let's just get Dominic. And Andrew's like, gonna stomp you to death. And as if I would let you get away with this. And then we see Ray just getting ready to shoot. And we see a flashback from Ray's perspective about what happened when they left the shelter, as Hugo's going, there's no need to burden children with this thing. And he's like, sorry, Hugo, but I'm fully resolved to carry that burden. And it's just like showing like Ray, more so than Emma, is willing to take those risks. And this is what I've loved a lot about Ray's character, how he's that risk taker. It's like he sees the situation, and even though he knows he will be carrying the risk of actually killing another human being, he has a good motivation for doing this. I mean, Emma has a perfect motivation, but it's like she's more pure than Ray is, and she's like more willing to like hold back, which again it is going to come back to bite her in the arse at some point, Emma. I'm not saying that this is a really good thing all around, because having that urge to pull back and not shoot is actually going to affect her in a real way, and it's going to make her snap at some point when one of these like major characters that I've mentioned actually does die, and Emma sees them dying. Like, it's just gonna like click as well. She's always been on that edge of like on that thin line of going over the edge from what all the horrors that she's seen. And can you really blame her at this point? But anyway, moving on, Andrew's still going on and saying, die you damn pests, walking meats, the lot of you. And as Ray is like looking shots like he's actually seeing something that Andrew's actually seeing, we see from behind Andrew a demon come out of nowhere, and as he's about to stamp down Dominic, Andrew notices this, and we see that the demon just grabs Andrew, just devours him right there. So yeah, Andrew is dead at this point, and I'm gonna get into that in a moment. And they after everyone says now's our chance, run, they're able to escape as the demon continues swallowing Andrew whole, and we see his glasses. So now he is deceased. Now going on to what Andrew, I mean, I liked him as a villain. I mean, he was starting to go up there, but now that we maybe we'll find out more about him through flashbacks through Peter Rattari. But I feel like Control Chaos was so like fixated on Andrew, and now that he's gone, they're like gonna have no point at this point to love the series at this moment, and that's fine with them. If they don't like the series, that's fine. But to call Andrew a waste of potential is I can see where they're coming from. Like, we all thought that Andrew was going to be like the right-hand man to Peter Rattari. But again, this is actually interesting if you really think about it, from everything that Andrew has actually said throughout these whole chunks. If you actually look at his dialogue, it's been consistently like, you are damn pigs, you are cattle, you have nothing. And to see him actually go out in this way is actually kind of symbolic in a way, because he was always constantly reminding the characters that they're actually pigs and cattle and they don't deserve to live, when he got so consumed by that notion that he was invincible, he was safe from the demons, that he actually wasn't prepared for a wild demon to actually just gobble him up. And actually that could be like a plot point later on, that Peter Rattari actually finds out that Andrew was killed by a demon, someone that they actually trust, that you weren't going to kill us, you weren't going to break the the promise for our kind, and that could lead to a full-scale war in the end. Like the demons did not tame these wild demons, and even Peter and the other members of the Atari clan that are not James, and we'll be getting into James later on in this chapter because there's something to talk about him here. But anyway, that may actually come into play later on, that the demon, that Peter finds out what has happened, and he's like, confronts the demons, and like, what the fuck is going on? You said my men weren't going to be killed. That was the whole promise, and now one of my men's been killed by one of your creatures. And the demons could be like, well, it was a wild creature, it was a dog, and yeah, and he was out there, he knew the risks, he went over into Demon World, and that could lead to like real attention, that could just like break the promise there and then. And I'm really looking forward to that actually happening, because this death of Andrew, it might not seem significant in the short term, but in the long term it's going to be really significant, and it just showed just how arrogant Andrew was, and thinking that he couldn't be harmed, and now he's been killed in the same manner that he berated the cattle kids for actually being just meat for the demons. Also, going out on what Control Chaos actually said about their comparison between Promised Neverland and Dr. Stone, they compared. They were talking about the characters, and I agree. Dr. Stone has better characters. Looking at it now, it's like, I love Promised Neverland, I love its story, and I do love its characters, and I love the mystery and tension that's surrounding the series. And I love Dr. Stone just as equal for its scientific nature, its creativity, and like how Senku is able to get out various objects right away. And its characters, I love its characters. But I do love the characters in the Promised Neverland, and I do feel like in terms of actual characters that are actually memorable, in terms of widespread cast, Dr. Stone has much more memorable characters. So I'll admit that. I'll be the first to admit that. But even though I love like Ray, Lucas, Hugo, Emma, especially Isabella, I love those characters. But I love characters like Crone and Sukaya, basically the little girl with the melon head. I can't pronounce her name, but she's actually my favourite character from Dr. Stone, in case you're wondering. I love Kyoko, I love Tsukasa, I love Gin, I love them all, and I really like how the author has established them as opposed, and that's another thing. The characters in Promised Neverland, even though they can seem one-dimensional, they do have other layers to them. They just don't come out in the same way that the characterizations in Dr. Stone comes out. But you have to understand, guys, Dr. Stone and Promised Neverland, even though they've been set up as like survival series, they've been set up in a completely different way, and they complain that that the characters in Promised Neverland are not having moments like in the last chapter of Dr. Stone, not the chapter that's been released today, the last chapter when Tsukasa was actually frozen in carbonate. They had that little moment, like just that random talk, him and Senku, and they complained that none of the characters in Promised Neverland had like just a moment where they could just talk about nonsense. And well, I can see where they're coming from. They have to understand that Promised Neverland has a completely different structure to it. They really don't have time to be having these really random conversations as much as the Dr. Stone one, because Dr. Stone, they're not in a world. They're on Earth. They're still on Earth, and they're in a primitive age, but they're not on an Earth that's full of demons that could pop out anymore trying to kill them. So they really don't have time to have those moments that Dr. Stone has. So I feel like that's something that they've actually glossed over. But I do agree that Dr. Stone has much more memorable characters than Promised Neverland. But I do like the characters in Promised Neverland for just what they've been through and how they're actually kids. They're kids, and they still have room to grow themselves. They're not like adults. They're not like young adults. Like some of them aren't like the characters in Dr. Stone. And the kids in Promised Neverland have room to grow and have room to develop still. Even though it's the final arc, there's still a long way to go in my opinion, I think. And I'm really and I love both series. I love them both equally, and We Never Learn as well. I love both. I feel like those three series give a nice balance for me each week. We have a survival horror, we have a survival science fiction, we have a romantic comedy. I love how they balance each other out, and I'm not just branching one chapter. But yeah, that's what I wanted to say, how they seem to gloss over the fact that Dr. Stone and Promised Neverland, even though they're survival series, they are structured in a different way, and you can't really have moments in the Promised Neverland like you have in Dr. Stone. So anyway, moving on, we get the moment after the whole battle with Andrew, after the whole standoff with Andrew, we get the kids mourning the loss of the kids that actually died in the previous chapters, and we see them going, Lucas and Hugo, they're dead, and we see Oliver just like there mourning them, saying they went like heroes, they protected us right to the end. And we see all the kids actually mourning, but we get a lot of focus on Gillian, which I've really wanted to see other sides to Gillian as opposed to like just this peppy upbeat girl. And again, she's like actually a lot more of a tragic character if you think about it, because she has all of this inner sadness that she tries to hide when by being peppy and upbeat, but when she hits the fan, she like really just explodes with emotions. And we see her right here thinking about Lucas and Hugo, and we get a really funny image of Lucas actually playing with the kids, like not Lucas, Hugo actually playing with the kids, just like, and then we see her like giving a piggyback to the kids, and it's just really happy, but also really sad at the same time that they can't have moments like that again. And Gillian's just going on to say, then those two never again, and we see her just bawling over and just crying her eyes out really emotionally. And once she starts crying, everybody starts crying, even Paula, I think it's Paula, the one with the bandana, and she's saying it's okay this time, it's okay to cry this time, okay. And we see a question mark, like she's not sure. I mean, she's been one of like the more stoic characters that really just doesn't explain emotion, so again, it's really hard for her to like decide, like, is it okay to cry this time, is it not? And once they start crying, everybody starts crying. So again, it's showing different sides to the characters, and even though we don't know that much about all the characters that are in this group, it's just showing that they are a family and they all feel the emotions, and they're all still human, not all robotic. They all have emotions. It's just like it's sometimes much more difficult to come out in various moments, and whether it's appropriate for it to come out at those various moments. So as everybody is just like mourning over the loss of Lucas and Hugo, we see Ray just going outside as there's clearly something on his mind, and he sees something, and he shoots one of the arrows that he has, and it brings down the bird that we've just been seeing pretty much ever since this arc started. We've been seeing like an owl just like going throughout all the kids, just like observing them, and I've been thinking like that owl is going to play an important part, and it's always playing an important part because that's the symbol of the retired class of William Minerva, Peter Retired. That's like his symbol that he put on all the books that he actually wrote throughout the series that the kids have actually picked up on. So yeah, it's interesting that the owl symbol actually has a plot point at this point, and as Ray brings it back to the kids, he says, look at that. And everyone's like, what's up, Ray? That's an owl, Ray. No, look closely. It's a camera. And then he goes on to explain like how Andrew could actually find out where they were. How could that man find this place so fast? How did they know about the shelter, even in the blind spot of our cameras? The answer lies before you. So I get really smart of the actual villains to actually catch them off guard by using something that they wouldn't actually think of, using like a camera, but having it in place inside of a mechanical owl to actually observe them. And that explains why they were able to just like catch the kids off guard and catch them by surprise and actually locate the shelter and have all this shit that's happened through ever since the arc started up until this point. And Pepe goes on to say, so this thing pinpointed the position of our camera and followed our escape to the hideout too. And Ray goes, probably yes. I should have noticed it earlier. Now that I think about it, it's been around for a while now, always following us. And we get like the flashback of the owl actually following them. So it's really clever on Ray's part that he actually discovered this, but also it could have been like, he would have been like, that owl has been following us. I wonder if it's like a spy for them, and he could have just done it back there, but I guess they were like thinking more of like, we just need to get out of here because we don't know how many enemies are after us at this point. So anyway, Katira gone, Ray says to them that this place is finished too, we have to abandon it right away. And everybody's looking shocked, like, what? Because they've only just got there, like, literally, it's only been like, what, about an hour? No, it's not. It's only been like half a day since they got there because they all had to have that rest. So yeah, it's really just been half a day that they've actually been there. And Ray goes on to continue saying that it's unlikely that the enemy has only one camera. And again, that I feel like this is not just going to be a throwaway idea. Like, they're all going to have to be really careful now of where they go and what items they actually have and what creatures are around them, because anywhere, based on what's actually been seen with that owl, anywhere and anything can actually be a camera out that Peter Rattari's actually got scouring around him in a similar way that the kids had with the shelter. Like, he has all these monitors that are like connected to all these cameras that he has throughout the demon world, that he can actually observe people or cattle that have actually escaped from the farms and actually capture them, or something like that, or look out for people that he deems a traitor. Because as we saw when he made one of his more recent appearances, he shot people just because he thought that they would be traitors, and he branded them traitors and he killed them without any remorse. I feel like it's going to be something similar to how there's always going to be cameras watching them, and they're going to be and it's going to be like really tense. Like, they don't know what has cameras on them, or who has cameras on them, or who's working for the Rattari clan. Like, they're all going to have to be really careful at this point. And Ray continues on by saying, and even if they do, in all likelihood, the Rattari clan already knows about this hideout. So anyway, they know about the shelter itself as well, which means that, not the shelter, the underground tunnel. So there's no point in them actually being there. And Gilda adds on to this, but with the shelter gone, if we lose this hideout too, where we're supposed to live, there's nowhere we can go. And Nate continues to say that we'll be forced to wander at random then, and it's really like a good point that they're bringing all of this up right now. Like, even though they had something that they thought they could establish at their home, they can't now, and they're gonna have to find a new place, and where that is, we don't know. It's at this point that Emma and Oliver decide to tell everybody about the final phone call, the one Lucas received as he pulls out the letter that Lucas gave to him. And as Oliver is explaining to everybody about what's happened, the kids go, "So Minerva may be alive." No, we can't know that yet. And again, I love that they're still bringing up that idea of, like, it could be suspicious of the Rattari clan that sent out that message that they had. So, like, they're not trusting anyone at this point, and it could be an enemy, it could be an ally, they don't know. And I'm really glad that they're actually bringing that up, and it wasn't actually just be like, okay, great, we've got to go to Minerva. They're actually like, no, this may not be a Minerva, we may not know that he's alive. And Nate further establishes this, like, saying, yeah, maybe it's a survivor of the supporters. And they go, a friend? But like, no, you really have to be careful at this point, because you don't know who could be friend or ally to you kids. But they continue to go on and discuss various points by saying, but we'll have to make another journey. We've just lost the shelter, and now this. And again, it's understandable that they're really upset, because they just want a place to actually survive and not actually be cattle, and be actual children that can grow up and mature and make a difference in the world. Somebody continues to say that they took our homes, our family, Lucas, Hugo, and we get like this glorious image of just like Peter Rattari and several of the demons just like standing over everyone as everyone is just being shot to death and killed, which just shows just again this series is not afraid to like actually take risks and actually show kids actually getting killed and blood being splattered. I argue that it takes more risks than One Piece, even though One Piece is way more tragic. This could be right up there, because it's actually it's actually showing actual blood being spilled, and actually just being like really like, ew, really, they're actually going there in Shonen Jump. And that's what I love about the series, how it's not afraid to take risks. I mean, it's afraid to take some risks, but it's not afraid to take more risks. Like Lucas and Hugo, they were actually very popular characters, and to see them actually being called off, I feel like it's a big risk. But a lot of people feel like that's the reason why it dropped off at certain points. But I feel like if they can actually get themselves back up, they can actually get Peter at like the forefront and centre as the even though he's the overarching antagonist of the series, if he can come forward front and centre from now on, I feel like that will be a big deal for us to actually go off on. And I feel like it may actually boost give the spike to the series and be like, okay, let's see where this goes. So as everyone continues to say, damn it, I hate it, nowhere in the world can we just live in peace, we see Emma's just like the bottom half of her face, and she's not giving any emotions, but she's seeing just how everyone around her is being broken. She's like, right, there's not, and then we see her face being really happy and saying that's why we're fighting to build a place, to build that place for ourselves. Which again, it shows just how effective Emma is as a leader. Like, she's seeing all this upset and depression building around her, but she's able to just lift up the space and say, yeah, we don't have a place at the moment, but we're fighting to get a new place, and that's all that matters at the moment. As long as we can keep on fighting and not let Lucas and Hugo's deaths be in vain, then we can live in a world where we can actually be happy and can live in peace. And I love that about her, like how she's just like, even though you can clearly see on her expression, like she's on the verge of tears as well, she's just like, I have to be brave, I have to not show that I'm crying, because I have to be strong for these kids, because they're my family. Lucas and Hugo entrusted them to me. I have to be the older sibling at this point, along with Oliver and Ray. We have to be like the ones to actually take charge of this group and establish ourselves as the leaders. And they're really effective leaders as well. Like Oliver and Ray and Emma, they're like really tactful leaders, and despite all the depression and despair that's going on in this group, they're able to just like lift up and give morality and happiness to the kids. What little happiness they have, they're able to give it to them, and I really love that and how effective they are as leaders in that case. As we get Emma thinking to herself and saying, we promised Phil's group we would return for them within 2 years, and those 2 years will be up in 60 days. Okay, so we've got really little time left before they're actually going to get Phil's group and get them out of there, but there's still so much that needs to go on here. Like, we need to establish what happened to Isabella, what's going on with Grandma, what's going on with the Demon King, what's going on in Human World, where is Norman, and actually get all the kids from the orphanages and get them, just like setting them free. Like, we are no longer cattle here, we are no longer enslaved to the humans. And Emma's saying, whatever it takes, we'll change the world now within 2 years. And we get her flashing back to Hugo, giving her that boost of confidence, basically her mind, but that's been taken over by Hugo, saying, you'll change the world, Emma, and you can change the world. And she goes on to like boost the confidence of everyone and say, together we can do it. We're doing it for the sake of Hugo and Lucas. And even though a lot of kids are actually being unsure at this point, like they're still having expressions, still having conflicting emotions, they're still all listening to Emma and all listening to her idea of what actually needs to be done. And I really love that about how she's like, okay, I need to take charge here. I need to be the grown-up here, essentially, and move on what Lucas and Hugo actually taught for me. And she continues on by saying, for all of that, we'll go again and again. As long as there's will, we can go anywhere. Everybody, let's go to the place they called us, all of us. And again, it's just showing just how much of establishment that Emma has as a leader. Like, she's had enough of this and she wants to get that world built up as quickly as possible. But now we come to the end of the chapter, and loady load, it's a big one. We see a silhouette of her figure going, the transmission, I wonder whether it reached that shelter in time. And him saying the shelter, that's kind of a big clue, as we see one of his associates comes in, which kind of looks similar to Andrew in a sense, only without the hair. But yeah, it looks like he's similar to Andrew, with like how beefed up he is, and he has the glasses and everything. And he says, yes, it did. It's starting, James. And we see like just James's the bottom of his face showing no emotion, and that's where the chapter ends. Okay, so big reveal, William Minerva is alive, and it seems like from this last panels that he is actually still on the side of the group, and it seems like he was the one that actually sent out the transmission to Lucas. It was a bit sketchy, but again, it seems like he is still on the side, but then he may not be on the up and up at certain points. It may be like he's just seen, even though he sent out those transmissions years ago, those phone calls years ago about saying like, I won't interfere with you, and I won't break the promise. It's just seeing just how desperate the situation is, and how it's like, okay, I need to break the promise. I need to be the leader at this point. Or it could be a trap. We don't know. But anyway, guys, yeah, that was the end of the chapter. Again, it wasn't really a long chapter, but there was like some stuff in here that I actually really liked. Like, I liked how we saw the different sides to Ginny, and we saw the different sides to the other characters, even though we don't know much about them. We still saw different sides to them, and I love how Emma is slowly like just building up that more and more her experience as a leader, and I feel like she's going to be an effective leader to the Resistance in the same way that Lucas and Oliver have been at this point in time. But anyway, guys, what did you think? Like, subscribe, comment, all that jazz, and this will be Lasherluke signing off. Later, guys.